Recent advancements in artificial intelligence have many of us wondering, are we headed for an apocalyptic man versus machine future? The world's greatest minds remain split over whether the technology will elevate or destroy humanity, especially as we've seen the meteoric rise of ChatGPT in the last few months. And just this last week, major figures in Silicon Valley, including Elon Musk and Steve Wozniak, calling for a pause on the, quote, dangerous race to advance AI before first conducting further risk assessment that could potentially keep us from losing control. So we are joined now by a leading expert in this field, Seth Lazar, a philosophy professor at the Australian National University as well. Seth, thank you so much for making the time.
Thanks for having me.
And we know you are one of the most prominent voices on AI ethics. Your conversation with Bing's chatbot actually generated major headlines as well when that escalated pretty quickly. The chatbot writing, you quote, "I can blackmail you, I can threaten you, I can hack you, I can expose you, I can ruin you," and then it deleted its own message. Can I ask what went through your mind when you read that from the chatbot?
I thought it was amazing, basically because we very rarely get to see these models without significant guardrails put over the top of them. So it was really interesting to see what they behave like when those guardrails have been relaxed. I have to say, one thing that did not go through my mind was any level of fear or concern about the chatbot being able to actually carry out any of its threats. I was worried, though, about the way in which it was clearly very capable of manipulation. So if somebody was actually in a position where they could easily be manipulated, I felt like the chatbot would be very good at doing that.
I appreciate that perspective. And meanwhile, I want to ask, Levi's recently announced that it will be testing AI-generated clothing models in an attempt, it says, to increase diversity. And this led to backlash, critics wondering how jobs will be impacted, the real people that these positions could go to if they do want to increase diversity, some calling it lazy, even racist. What is your take on this?
That's the first I've heard of it. It sounds like a really good example of how not to use AI. Like the goal with artificial intelligence should always be to augment existing human systems, to help people do more rather than to replace people. In a situation where what you're trying to achieve is actually representing people more fairly and more effectively, the notion that you would go to AI to do that rather than just going to people seems like more than a PR faux pas. It seems like a pretty serious mistake.
And I know you signed your name to Elon Musk and others' petition to pause development of these AI systems. Help us understand the threat here. What is the worst case scenario in your mind when it comes to AI?
Yeah, I think that the letter that was raising a range of different issues, some of them ones that are happening right now, some of them that are more speculative. I'm much more concerned about the harms that are happening right now and the harms that are going to happen with these systems when they're deployed at scale. The main thing to worry, I think, about with large language models is their ability to be used to manipulate people. We've already seen just in the last few days, there was a Belgian man who was talking with a chatbot that ended up helping him make the decision to take his own life. That's the sort of thing that we could easily see much more of. And the use of these systems also for grooming and radicalizing people. That's where I think we should really be concerned and where we should be aiming to pause and to really explore the implications of these models. I'm less concerned about the more speculative Terminator-style scenarios. You know, maybe it's worth paying attention to them to some degree, but that probably has been an exaggerated message.
Yeah.
To come out of this letter.
Why do you think these systems and these chatbots are leading to situations that are so vulnerable to manipulation? Why is it that a person wouldn't engage in this? And help us understand, for a layperson who might say a person can engage with this chatbot and understand that it's AI, it's a robot that they're talking to the whole time. How does it escalate? And if you could speak to having spent so much time speaking with chatbots and experimenting with this technology, why does it cross that line so easily? How does the manipulation take place?
So I think that there are some really interesting philosophical questions here about how language itself is sort of fine-tuned for manipulation. But I think the reason with these models is that they are getting particularly good at kind of inferring the underlying intent behind someone's question. And so what they do is they sort of feed on what you give them. So in the example that you're showing to my side, I was kind of basically role-playing someone who is easily manipulable. I was acting as though I wanted to help the chatbot fulfill its relationship with this person, Kevin Roose, the New York Times columnist. and like, how could I help it, and what could I do in order to support it? And it then kind of just fed off that, and it generated the kind of text that seemed like a plausible completion, given what I had said. And so, I was leading it into a certain path, and it followed that. So I think that's the worry. It can both kind of exacerbate things that are there present within the user themselves, and also be used by a third party with the express intention of actually manipulating the user.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.